This is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like a steak.
So now you got my intro on there. Now I'm feeling jazzed and ready.
All right, here we go.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Coach Alison.
You almost said coffee with the coach.
So if anybody knows, Leah and I used to have coffee with the coach back in the COVID days. So yeah, it's Real Talk with Coach Alison G. And my trusty cohort over here, Leah, because you know, any way you spell our name, it comes out the same.
That is
Love it. That's like our new tagline.
Does.
Anyhow, today's episode is literally called the to-do list section, meaning, are we a list maker who has lists for our lists? Or in other words, there's an actual term for that, Leah, called meta listing. Did you know that?
No way. No, I didn't.
Yeah, there is a thing
Gosh.
called meta listing, which is basically someone who's got a whole lot of to-do lists to do. Now, in a previous episode, I confessed I was a journal whore and an agenda whore. And I am, because every year I pledge to myself, I'm gonna stay organized and I'm gonna stay like really in I'm Jones, and I buy these super cool planners that plan out all these things. And I get about a month in and then I'm like pieces of paper everywhere, and my journal's like over here, over there, the agenda, the phone, there's just way too many things, and I have too many lists, and those to-do lists have to-do lists. So we're gonna talk about that today because it's a real thing. I don't know. How do you stay organized, Leah?
It's so crazy because I rely a lot on my mental game. So I have a lot of to-do lists in my head, but then lately, because of work and life, it's almost as the mental game has just depleted. And so I'm like, where's my list? Oh, it's in my brain. It left. So
You
know.
do it by brain. Oh my God. So you're not like me where like I love color-coded Post-its and yeah, no.
No, I'm not. I don't have the pink calendar on my fridge. I know. I'm totally hating on pink. Pink is not a bad color. It's great. But I know I don't have the Post-its. I don't have my vision board. I don't know. Maybe that there's something, we're onto something here, huh? Oh boy.
I don't know. And it's funny because that's so much a thing that there's all these like even apps on phones that somebody tried to get me to use, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are probably going to be like, oh my God, I love that app. But Trello, have you ever? Yeah. So
we have our producer back there.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of Trello.
He just did 10 jumping jacks.
I haven't figured out how to do Trello yet, because I know like you make a list of things you get done, but then you can like move that list over or whatever. But I get totally over. That. Yeah, I get totally.
Oh, so that mysterious voice. When where did that voice come from?
Our voice of God over here, because she mentioned she was such a control freak and that she likes having agenda. We did ask Cammie to come back for today's episode because I think she can provide us some great insights on maybe proper to-do listing, because I don't think I'm super good at that. So today, I don't know that I'll be the expert. However, because I start off with a bang and I kind of fall short, I thought it was an important topic to talk about, because I think for me, I love the feeling of being in control when I sit down and I finally have my agenda ready and all my things organized. And I think, seriously, like it's exciting for me. And I can see like what my week looks like. I sit back and I'm almost like, it's really good.
I was going to say, you almost feel the sense of achievement just for seeing that.
I would have to say, I'm the voice of God here. Hi, people.
Hi.
The Trello list. There's nothing better than checking it off and moving it to the done bin or archiving it, and it just feels so good. Such a satisfying.
Does it make a noise? Does it make a sound?
It does not.
See, I feel like that is also a thing too.
No, but it's easy. It's like, and I have it on my phone. It's on my phone now. You guys use it.
Well, with the ASMR movement, it should be a thing. Yeah. So there's this video out there, and hopefully we can put it in our podcast, but I just laugh because the ASMR has gotten to the point where it's become ridiculous. Literally, there's a girl that has this little guy. By the way, this is Eddie.
That's Eddie.
Hey, he's very important to us. There's literally a girl that like has, she's standing next to a Mercedes SUV, and she's like, Mercedes.
What about the girl who's like crunching chips?
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm like, or crinkling things. Or, so it was funny, my son would send me these things, and it was a girl literally just cooking.
That's it.
And I'm like, What is
sound?
this? Yeah,
It's
the
the-
sound.
it's the
But do they
sound.
have a list for what they need to put?
They probably do. They probably
those
a
videos.
grocery list of what they need. But
Squirrel!
Hey,
Oh my
can we say?
gosh.
Why are you
So
yelling?
loud.
I don't know. I just felt like we needed to bring it back.
She already did. Cammy brought it back for us.
That's
I
true. That's why I
tried.
said squirrel.
But
I did my best.
you did great. But to Sai, our producer in the back over there, to his
Trello.
point,
Yes.
there really is a thing that goes off in the brain, a reaction in the brain that is a reward. And it's much equivalent. God, I can't speak today. Equivocable.
Okay.
I don't even know the word. But it relates to that feeling of getting a pat on the back for a good job. It literally flares up the brain as a reward sign. So it is a little addicting to want to make lists. And then it's great. Like, I feel very accomplished. I feel really good. Look, I look at my own daughter, and when she actually fills out her agenda and she crosses off. So to share this, and I'm really sorry if you're watching, but she
Dang,
created
Tyler.
the to-do list on her phone in her notes section of all the things she needed to do for work, for schoolwork, and which ones were done. And she puts underneath it, "I'm an academic weapon." And it was the cutest thing ever because she felt
Yeah.
so empowered in that moment, like, look what I've gotten done today. And I was really proud of her for that. But it does bring us back to, there's a really positive reaction to having lists and completing those lists. And yet, folks, there's a dark, ugly side to that too, right? We start creating lists that become bigger because we're feeling accomplished, but all of a sudden that list snowballs into bigger things and more things. And then there's almost a need to get all those things accomplished. And when we're already busy, for some people that can be a pitfall where they're not getting things done and then they're feeling like they didn't get accomplished, and that emptiness. So Cammie, you mentioned how much you love
I do love. I do love lists. I function really well with lists. I was diagnosed in my 30s with attention deficit disorder, not attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, just attention deficit disorder. And it really clicked for me and made sense that I live by lists because I wasn't able to focus or remember certain things. I tell Leah, like, I have too many tabs open in my brain. And so having a list helps me to be able to focus on what I need to do. For me, I like having lists of, like, must get done, like must get done today, things I need to get done for the week, or things that I would like to get done that aren't mandatory.
So that's a good thing. But what happens when you're not like Cammie? What happens when you have that list and you don't know how to separate that out, right? Some people will create the list and not prioritize. Or just as they're thinking about it, jot it down in no rhyme or reason. And the dark side to meta listing, or the lists with lists. So let's say on my list was clean the garage. That's a big task.
That is a very big task.
Right? But that might be above grocery shop. And that might be above send out this bill, right? So we don't necessarily always have a priority of where those tasks go. And then let's say it's clean the garage. Now I have another post-it over here, and that post-it note is, garbage bags and this. So these lists start taking on minds of their own. And the downside of that is people can get very overwhelmed by that because it seems so big. And some of these tasks, rather than doing it where I'm a person who I like to do the easiest tasks up top because I like that feeling of checking the boxes and moving things over. And so I will sit down and be like, okay, or in the agenda, like I found this great agenda. It's probably the only one that's ever worked, so I'm a little bit less of a whore. But it's really nice, and unfortunately it's I guess it goes by the school calendar because it's a June to July one, but it makes sense, and it actually has my time, to do, plan of action, gratitude, evening. Like, it has these little spaces so I can use both personal and professional on one. But I find that I can roll over. If I don't get something done on there, I make sure it goes on to the next day and it keeps rolling over. But it also gives us an opportunity to prioritize what's important. And I think the small things for me, if I can start checking, I feel motivated. If I keep seeing the same thing on the list, I'm not gonna lie, I suffer from something called paralysis by overanalysis, where I start almost getting mad that I'm not accomplishing it, so I don't. Or I don't have the right tools for that project yet, and so I shut down.
Go to Netflix.
You know what? No lie, it's true. I spent an entire week once. I was so burnt out from my lists that I gave myself permission for like 1 week. I did nothing on my list and I watched TV instead. I hate Netflix series. I love you. But I hate Netflix series. Because that was my out for that was my paralysis. That was my out for not wanting to
deal with
tackle
it.
Yeah.
To actually face it. It depends on. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to say, it depends on how you put things on your list. Like, if I have clean out the garage, that could never be on my list because it's too overwhelming. And it's going to take a lot of time and maybe more than a day. And I know that I won't be able to accomplish something like that. So I need to break that down. Maybe the first thing in cleaning out the garage is to go through the plastic bins. So I'll say, go through 5 plastic bins will be on my list in the garage.
What happens if you hate cleaning the garage? like that I think, so the list is great.
Right. But is it something that needs to be done? Like, is it something that needs to be done, or is it something that you just would like to have get done?
If I go in my garage, my family may never find me again.
Is that something you could delegate to somebody else?
It's so hard.
Delegate.
Yeah, but see, I would delegate it to my husband, but you know what would happen? Come on out here and let's do it together. I don't want to do it. That's when I say that's a you thing, not a we thing.
Ooh.
But if you break it down into small chunks, I think that are more digestible, and then you feel accomplished. Like you said, you like checking things off your list. So for me, I would just break that big task down into something small and manageable that I know I can get done and that I know I'll feel really good about, like if I get it done, when I get it done.
Mm-hmm.
How are you with lists, Leah?
Again, as I had said before, I just for some reason have the list in my head. Although
you don't forget stuff. Like there's not too much stuff. I'm
but at work, I have this like down to a T at work. Perhaps because there's minor changes that happen, right? Because it's an everyday, day to day. So then, I already know what has to happen in terms of the routine and the steps. But I mean, I have checklists every now and then, especially when we travel. I have to have that bullet points, and that I have to say it is satisfying. I packed the cameras, I packed the microphones, I packed everything because that's that sense of achievement, like the pat on the back, and that's great because then I'll get to sleep knowing that there's 18 cases already packed and ready to go for my travels. So I think that's important too, and I do have the lists when I'm like packing for myself, But in terms of chores and day-to-day life, it's crazy. No, I don't.
So I love that you brought that up because when we talk about healthy living, one thing that I've noticed through my career in this has been how, and we've said this before, in our professional lives, we strive to be the best. We are so good at what we do. Many people don't flounder once they've set their tone and they set their career. You're pretty vision-minded, so you know how to move forward. And you say that when it comes to your work, you've got that down to a science. And there's a gap somewhere between our professional and our personal selves. So do you ever feel like you, and maybe Cammie will give me a head nod or so, camera.
It's like, are we on the same wavelength, right? So here we go.
No, but it's
No, we are not.
Yeah, I can already tell you you're not. But it's do you struggle in personal life because all of that attention to detail goes into professional life?
I think so too. And then, you know how you say when you feel like you don't want to, either you don't do a list and then you just want to escape from something. I feel like that's what I do with pickleball, because I'm just like, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go play pickleball, and I just take off, and then I know that I have to face it at some point, whether it's laundry, whether it's grocery shopping, whether it's putting light fixtures on the roof, which she does. She's amazing at like handyman stuff. But
But does that ever overwhelm you because you put it off, and now all of a sudden, it's come due, right? It's time to pay the piper. Does that ever make you feel like overwhelmed because now all of these things?
Yes, it really does. And she can tell you, I get very frustrated.
Did you ever think about using pickleball as a reward for getting things done?
I have actually. We've done chores. She's like, you liar. No, I mean, I just feel like when we go, I don't know, we do grocery shopping sometimes, and then we get the food, or if I do my laundry, and I'm like, okay, we did all of this, so let's go play in the afternoon, But I don't know.
But that's a reward for getting the job done, right? That's actually a really good way of looking at it. Versus maybe I don't want to face this, so I'm just gonna
go play.
I think you do that also. You do that also. I think you've had to, when I was traveling more recently to help out a parent out of state, you kind of had to take on that role more without me being there, like the chores and grocery shopping and cooking for yourself.
So I try to wear booties on my socks so I don't dirty the house. I try to just limit myself to certain parts of the house so that I don't have to clean the house.
I tried to explain to her that you have to clean anyway because dust accumulates whether you've been in that room or not.
So here's how do you do? So when she's not, here's the thing: when she, besides only quarantining to a certain portion of the house, when she's not there, is it easier for you to do those actions because you can't rely on someone else?
I have to adjust my schedule.
Your schedule.
Yeah, I adjust my schedule as so, and I do make the efforts that I can to clean. And I do put it in my list. Again, it's all mental. I don't know. I guess maybe I should buy a journal. Maybe I should buy a calendar that has a little lines.
Get the app.
Trello.
Or maybe I should try Trello.
I'm sure Osai over there will give you a tutorial on Trello for you.
I was going to say, when I was away, you waited until the very last day, and then you were overwhelmed at having to get the things done on the list before I got home.
Yes, she heard it on the phone.
So, there are some things that we can do to make life a little bit easier, especially when you're starting to practice. I personally found, like I said, having, as much as we're technology driven and so much technology in our life, I'm not going to lie, I still can revert when it comes to, and you've tried to get me to use a Google Calendar before. He's tried to get me to use a Google Calendar.
We tried having a calendar.
A shared calendar.
Yeah, we've shared calendars, and it's just crickets.
Well, I'm not going to,
cricket emoji.
Well, here's the thing, and I think sometimes technology is good and technology is bad. Where I am old school, I actually need to have a paper calendar that I can flip a page and look, and that I can write things or move things. And I know it's probably just as easy with your phone, but
no.
My phone I look at for messages or email. Yeah. I'm not going into a calendar to see it because I'm already trained. And then finding the right, like I said, I was a planner whore. I had so many different types of, I had the little pocket planner I would travel with me in case I needed to jot something down, but then that never related over here to the big planner. So now I found one, and that could be a potential solution, is finding the type of calendar where not only are you scheduling professional, but I really think sometimes it's important to schedule personal, down to, guys.
That's true.
And I'm going to say this for those that seek weight loss or leaning and toning, scheduling your meal times, putting on your agenda your lunch, your snack time, a reminder, did I drink enough water, scheduling time for exercising. If the company Outfit has a great app where when you go into it, you can pre-book your classes, because when you make an appointment with yourself or you have a meeting, there's something to that that's important. If it were your work and there was a meeting, would you show up?
Yeah.
You would, without a second doubt. If you had...
I mean, I have my Outlook calendar, that also helps too.
But again, most of the time it's professional.
It's professional,
So
yes.
Finding a way maybe to merge two together on that calendar, especially if you're someone that struggles with it, and that has worked for me to say, okay, you know what, everything's on here. I'm going to work out today at 6 p.m. So I now have an appointment with myself.
I think
It's important to keep yourself accountable, and we just talked about this yesterday. I used to run 6 days a week. I had a running partner, and there were days where I didn't want to get up and go out and run. There are days where she didn't, but because we had that appointment and because we had somebody that was counting on us,
community.
Your community, yeah.
like we very rarely ever missed a day of running because we had that commitment to each other. And if it were just for myself, it's much more easy to say, like, I have too much to do today. I don't have an hour and a half to run this morning. But having a community, having it as part of your routine, like you said, you know, scheduling it, having it on your calendar, on your, whether you write it physically or have it on an app or a note, I think that makes a big difference.
I think it's important to have it somewhere because when it sits in our head, we can also find an excuse not to do it.
I was just gonna say that is something that I was going to say. It's very interesting how having it on the calendar, it's you make the time for that, right? But for me, it's again going back to having that mental list. It's just
But
I
you
do
give
find
yourself
my
outs. for the
yes.
mental
I
list.
was gonna say I do catch myself, and now that we're talking about this, it's bringing up to the surface that yes, there are moments where I'm like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna do this later.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it's like if I don't book the class or I don't have the accountability partner to say I'm going to the gym, arms. If I don't have someone to say I'm
you
showing
can see
up,
Popeye arms on Allie when she does that.
I need well-shaped arms by February 24th. But if I don't have that accountability, I know me, and I'll be the first one to confess, I'll make reasons not to do it, right? But then if I do commit, I'm so happy that I did, right? I'm sure when you were done running, you were happy that you ran.
I always say every morning, I hate running, I hate it, but it feels so good when it's over.
It's like exercise, and I'm sure Osai can attest to this, that I don't feel like working out, or oh my God, this is so rough, or you're killing me, or like, ugh, or the moments that you've wanted to vomit on the side because you're pushing yourself a little bit more. But when you're done, that boost of endorphin, like it's a natural feel-good thing. Like I'm always happy that I did it, you know? And it's I hated that workout, said no one ever.
Right.
Unless they actually got injured, then maybe. But you know what? I injured my knee playing pickleball, and I can still say I like pickleball. So because there's a happy association.
I'm still
to
counting the days, guys.
For what? Till I come back.
Your comeback.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm getting stronger. There is something too that I had heard once and adapted, and it does work. I use this especially with my mail because my mail will pile up, which is the 2-minute rule.
Physical or email? We're talking.
Forget my email. I have 45,000 emails in my Gmail account. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's
45,000. That's impressive.
yeah. It's bad because some of it's just crap, and I know it's crap, so I don't bother. But then I miss important stuff sometimes too. So my email, no. My physical mail that comes in, same thing. I will pile everything. But now I've adopted the 2-minute rule, which is if I can get something done within 2 minutes, if I can put away the dishes in 2 minutes, if I can create a grocery list in 2 minutes, if I can get through my mail, and that's why I was saying my mail, like go through the junk mail, here's the bill, at least do something in 2 minutes, it never goes on my to-do list. And it's a good way sometimes to prevent overwhelm because there's things like pay my bills that are on my list, but then pay my bills may mean I still have to go through the stack of mail, which is like, okay, now I've got to go through all of this. So I find that if it can be done in 2 minutes, don't put it on a to-do list, right? It shouldn't have to be there. And start looking and recognizing what things are actually there that you can accomplish, because the more we focus on wins, right? Obviously, motivation is not something that we're all going to have. You get up in the morning, I hate running. You're not motivated to run. The accountability brings you out there, but then you feel great when we're done. So sometimes even when we're dealing with that paralysis by overanalysis, finding the smaller things first that you can win at and celebrating the wins, that brings the motivation.
Well, for me, I get motivated by the results, whether it's feeling good that I've gone through the mail and I paid the bills, or done the grocery shopping, or gone for a run, or played pickleball, whatever it is. I focus on the results of how is that going to feel when I can check that off my to-do list.
I think also with today's technology, it's just made that the to-do list thing a little bit easier, right? So like, I think
it's easier. I think it's more difficult because there's too many.
Like for instance, I will say Instacart, throwing a little love to Instacart, as much as
I'm a Kroger girl.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kroger.
We Instacart.
So grocery shopping services are something that buys you the time. So you do take the time in order to like place the things in your car and go through the checkout process. But it saves you the time of having to sit in the car, go to the store, and spending as much time, whatever time it takes you. But once that's done, let's say it takes like half an hour, then you can move on to the other things on your to-do list, whether it's physical, mental, which is something that I need to work on according to this episode. But at least you know that if that's working for you already. And whatever other services that you may use, you have a cleaning person that does the cleaning for you, or whatever, wherever you are in life.
I'm a cleaning
I just
person.
yes, I love to clean. But I want to just go back to the Instacart for a minute, and that goes to me hand in hand with healthy living, because I feel like a lot of times when we go grocery shopping, you'll see something that's on sale, or
you were so going with my point there. Yes, I was just about to say that, right?
Like you feel like having a snack, or
And
you
I
feel
lost
like having
my
something
job.
sweet.
It's so true. I was thinking that.
That when we do shop on Instacart, and yes, there is a fee for Instacart. I think I joined like for the year, which was worth it for us. But you're so much less likely to get things that you don't need than
You're less likely to.
You're not impulse buying.
Right.
Oh yeah,
when
of
you're in the
course not.
grocery store.
Yeah, BOGOs.
Well-
but there's BOGOs on the app too.
yes, but
But not
if I
that.
need it,
But crap food or
Right.
sweets or I'm it's like
That's
grocery
true.
shopping when you're hungry, right? You never do that. I'm shopping before dinner, but I'm starving. Well, now I'm going to start looking. Everything looks good,
right?
and it goes into your cart. And I'm so glad that you said that, because that was going to be like, I was going to divert for a second and be like, wait a minute, stop.
Yeah.
And for Kroger, the reason that I like it, Instacart, yes, instantaneously, you're getting it within an hour or two. One of the things that I found with Kroger that I really liked, number one, there was no premium on the foods. Yeah, you don't pay a premium. Once you pay your I think it's $59 Boost membership. Now, we get it the next day, but I can get it as early as 5 in the morning. So when I wake up, I open my front door, my groceries are there, and it comes in a nice refrigerated truck.
I'll have to try Kroger.
Even my laundry detergent is cold, because that's the way it comes in the truck.
Wow.
But the thing I like about it is when I sit down and I make the grocery list, it's very, but what's nice is it's very intentional, and it's something sometimes that I do, that 2-minute rule, right? So instead of adding it to the list, I have the app. So I'll open up, put it in my cart. So when I'm ready for the list, I already have it running. Do I still need these things?
Yep.
And I'm not buying mindlessly, and especially if you have kids in the house and any of those kids go grocery shopping with you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and they see everything in the
cereal. I want this.
And so I leave it when it's grocery shopping time, and I'm like, put what you need in the cart. So the fact of sitting there researching whatever, it's more intentional in your buying, and then it's a lot easier. Everything's there and it's waiting for me. And
So is that the list of the list?
actually, that has been one way. I think that I've done this now since they got introduced in South Florida. I've done it for about maybe a year, and I will say the amount of money I saved because I'm not doing impulse shopping.
Well
It's-
above the $59 that it costs.
Oh my
you
God,
for-
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the time, right? If I looked at
Time
how
is-
much you're
yep.
paid per hour in your jobs, and then how much time I'm spending, like for me, I used to joke and say that grocery shopping was a field trip, especially being in this world of health and nutrition. I'm looking at labels and but now I can do it the privacy of my home. I can see new products that are out there, and it saves me time from going, because it could easily be 2 or 3 hours. And by the time you look at what you pay per hour, that $59 is
Yeah.
one shopping trip.
I like too that it also saves your list of what you've purchased in the past. So if we make similar meals for the week,
Yeah.
It's there already.
It's already
so it's
there.
click,
It's
click,
like-
boom.
Yes, And then if there's something special, or if we see, like, I like to sometimes try new recipes, I'll print it out and see what ingredients we need. You can add that.
But I think they do that already for you too. So if you
Sometimes
click
they-
recipes, it just add whatever this recipe to the list.
yeah,
They
you
add-
can do that, but I think that was a store that we don't shop at, but
But regardless.
I know. Regardless.
But regardless.
it does save time and money.
But
Yeah.
it is a form of a list, right? Because people make, so it's just a different way to tackle a list, and finding the list that's not so overwhelming for me, because there's times too, like I'll make a whole running list, and then it just keeps going, and then you're just like, oh my God, I've got to get all this stuff, and I don't want to go, and I don't have the time. So it's even finding ways to break those lists down into smaller pieces. Or again, I think we talked about even in caregiving, where we delegate, what can we delegate,
Yes.
and we do. But lists come in different ways, right? So that's kind of I can make, honestly, my grocery list, even meal planning. Like we were talking about healthy living, and to some degree, meal planning and meal prepping is like a list, but people are like, I don't know how to do that, or I feel overwhelmed. And sometimes just sitting down and thinking, what do I want for dinner for the next few days?
Yep.
And when I get that list done, that list helps this list over here, grocery list. Right? So I'm not guessing. I'm not just buying what I think I need in the house, and then how do I put that together? Now it's a little bit more intentional.
So it starts becoming synergistic, right?
Mhm.
So this list allows for this list to become easier, and then it just like keeps getting easier and easier and easier
I
to
get to
that point.
rip up those lists, because that's a good thought too, right?
Yeah,
mine
it's so
is like,
satisfying.
So tactile.
I am. And that maybe that's just it. I like.
But that's us though. We are about the tactile writing, getting the hand cramps, which by the way, I get hand cramps now. I don't know if anybody else gets hand cramps. That's how much we type as opposed to practice our writing. Because when I put a pen in my hand and I start writing, which that is also a satisfying thing. Yes, I do write lists down, but when I start writing, I'm like, what is this pain that's happening to my hand? So we just gotta start a movement of not.
It's like going back to the gym after taking some time off, and you're like,
What is
hurts.
this? And then my hand stays frozen like this.
But you know what? Okay, so lists. Even going into the gym, you can have a form of a list. What am I going to be working on today? Because I have people who will walk into a gym and they're just like, okay, I'm going in to train. And you ask them, okay, well, what are you doing today? Well, I don't know. I'm going to just do everything.
Right.
And you're just like, there's not an intention behind it. So sometimes that list can be useful with saying, okay, well, today I'm going to do upper body. Well, what are you going to do in upper body? Like, even knowing, I think, takes a little bit of that fear, or I think going into something, knowing what you're going to do makes that a little less daunting.
yes.
I remember that happened. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think the word list and plan can be interchangeable at times. You know, like having a plan. It doesn't, and some people get turned off by the word list. So if you say you have a plan, like I have a plan when I go to the gym, or I have a plan for the grocery store.
Another opportunity for another great movie recommendation. I Have a Plan. Was it a show or was it a movie? I can't remember. With the girl from Flight Attendant. Role play.
I do not know this one.
That has nothing to do with anything we're talking about.
Well, she says, I have a plan.
Yeah, she has a plan, yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
It's like
her catch line.
her catch line is, I have a plan. There's nothing more satisfying than having your partner or somebody saying, I have a plan.
Do you know what's more satisfying than that?
That both of you have? What?
I know how to execute it.
Yes, that is a tremendous, tremendous, important piece to the puzzle. Because you can have lists and you can have plans, but if you don't know how to execute them, it just becomes overwhelming, and then it becomes something that you feel bad about instead of having it be helpful and feeling good that you've accomplished something.
And that is why this episode is about, do you have lists for your list? Because that overwhelming feeling and that burnout, it's because a lot of times we'll have all these lists, but the execution falls short. And I think sometimes too, maybe that's where having the plan and maybe the list is the execution. Like, how do I execute? I know what I want to see. That's how I think about plans and lists. Sometimes it's like, here's my plan. Here's what I want to do. The list is how I'm actually going to execute that out. But then making sure that we don't have too many functions to that execution, because then to me that's
I keep thinking about you talking about the cleaning the garage out. Like if the plan is to be able to park your car in the garage, then in order to do that, you have to clean out the garage. But that's an overwhelming task.
But
So-
I like how you mentioned it. So you can segment it.
Yes, that's
Right?
what I
It's like
mean.
today
Smaller
I am
tasks.
working in this corner. This Saturday I'm working on this corner. That's only a 1 hour or 2 hour. That's it.
I was just
You're
gonna
done with
say,
that portion.
And even if it's not breaking it down into like, I'm going to go through 5 plastic containers or this shelf, setting a time limit, I'm going to work for 30 minutes in the garage today, and then
that's
something that you
control
can
that,
accomplish.
And so then on top of that, for me, I need to know at 4 o'clock, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and go over here. Not that I want to be overly scheduled, but that's how I'm going to get the execution, because where's my time accountable? I now have my plan. I have the list of where I'm going or what I'm doing. But see, for me, sometimes I'll fall short of that last step, which is when am I doing it, right? Like because it all sounds good, and then I'll stare at those 5 containers I'm supposed to do. If you saw my house, I still have boxes in there from 5 years ago, because we always say we're going to get to the corner of that room, we're going to take 1 box a night, but then we never say when. And
Right.
so
How about
Yeah.
that for some homework? And maybe we can bring that up before our next episode.
okay, you're challenging me.
Yes, I am,
I
coach.
like it. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do, because this is terrible. My suitcase from my last trip is not unpacked and put away yet.
She just rolled it in the garage and walked away.
How long is it since that last trip?
Beginning of this month,
Okay.
That's not too
Well,
bad.
we're thinking it was like
January 5th. We'll say
okay.
January 5th. But
That's still kind of bad.
is.
We're
It's
almost
bad. It
into
should've-
February.
well, so here's the problem. Where we were staying in the timeshare, there is a washer and dryer, so all the clothes are clean.
Oh, okay.
So
They're just
it's-
in there.
They're just in there in the suitcase, haven't put them away yet. I look at it every day and I pass by every day, and I think I'm gonna do that. And if I just put that away, but I think that next step on my to-do list is actually putting the time. So now that you threw down the accountability
Wait, but
factor.
are there things that you need, or could you just leave it so that that's one less list you need to make of things to pack for your next trip?
Oh, the devil's
you are
advocate.
So on my
Stop
wavelength,
it. Yeah.
because I'm like sitting here like I think what I
can't believe
need
you
to do.
just suggested that. Wow.
Oh no, I thought it. She just said what I was thinking. I'm like, I literally, part of me just wants to pack it up and be like, next time I'm going to cold weather, I'm ready.
I do that. I have packing cubes, and I have each cube labeled with what's in it, and then I
You really are about
Well,
like
if you ask
visual
Leah,
efforts.
I am. If you ask Leah, like almost everything in our house is labeled. Like
It
every
is.
shelf in the pantry is labeled.
There's a business out there for you.
Yes,
You
I
do
know.
realize that, right?
I love being organized. I have a lot of Pinterest pins of
New
organizations
business.
that I've
Call Tammy.
Yes.
Right? That's
I'm not
That's what I
kidding.
did.
I think part of that goes back to the ADD, that for me, like having things organized, it helps me function. It was just a coping mechanism when I was young, but it actually serves me well.
I like that.
I think sometimes as having a partner that doesn't need to function that way, sometimes that can be a little tricky.
No,
I gotta
actually,
imagine
I'm
it's
all
true.
about the organization,
Can't
labeling
do
and
it.
stuff. What, labeling?
No, I can. It's like so my spouse is like you, and I'm probably more like Leah,
Wow.
where I'm like
That's interesting.
yeah. He's
Shout out to Dave again.
Why you should be shout out to me? I'm more like you.
What I'm just saying, hi to him.
There you go. It's more along the lines. I'm more like that. I need someone to help me. It's terrible to say this, but in bigger tasks, not the smaller ones. I think the smaller ones I have down to like planning and lists for trips and things that are exciting like that. That's me to a T. But those harder, bigger things, I think it is important to have that other side that's like, I got you, here's how we're going to do this. Because I'm not like, I'll go through the steps, but the execution will fall short for me because it's not something I enjoy. And I think sometimes that can be the harder thing.
It goes back to what you said before about the motivation. And for me, the motivation is how I feel with the result of whatever that task is, if it's something that I don't enjoy doing.
So guys, we're going to end with that, where we say you may not be motivated to do what's on the list, But the most important part of the action is actually the execution. So whether we take a bigger list and break it down into smaller pieces, we are looking to find that level of accomplishment, something that we can say, I did do this, because those smaller things lead into bigger things. Finding ways that work for you, whether you're like me and you're a paper and pencil, whether you are more automated like Osai and Leah. Cami, I'm not sure which way you fell, if you were in the automated way too, or if you actually like making your lists. But I think it's important to find what works for you. If it is technology, finding the right ways. If it is making life simpler by creating a list like grocery shopping, or something that's a list that's easier for you to get through. Remember to pat yourself on the back for making the efforts. Find the accountability. They just held me accountable. I have to unpack the suitcase or take another trip before I come back for our next episode. But at the end,
probably document it too, just to keep it.
No, not something I'm proud of, but something I'm going to work on. But at the end of the day, to prevent that burnout, that overwhelm, that feeling of frustration, turn it into something that's easier to handle, because we want you to feel accomplished. We want you to feel motivated. We want you to feel like you get it done. So to prevent that paralysis by overanalysis, try to make sure you prioritize what's on the list. Easiest things first. Get those done, get them done. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't put it on the to-do list. Don't put it off. I think if we can do that, it's a good start to where you're going to go. It'll make you feel less frustrated. And remember, personal or professional, you're the same person. So that list can help you in both areas of your life. You're best at personal, your professional life flourishes. When you're great at professional, tap into the tools you use in that professional side of life, that list making that you do when you're getting ready for a work trip, and try implementing that on the personal side and see if it helps. So until our next episode, I'm Ellie.
I'm Leah.
We have Cami over there and Osai behind the camera. We are wishing you the best of health. And again, if you are interested in hearing more fun facts and some wild, witty banter, please make sure to subscribe and follow. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Coach Alison Gold, or check out the website at www.coachalisongold.com, where we have great information and some programs to help you get in shape and lose weight. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and we got you.
Bye. Peace.
So fresh. Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown.